Welcome to this session of the 2025 Cloud Exchange. My guest today is Elizabeth Moon, the Managing Director of Customer Engineering for Google Public Sector. Elizabeth, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks so much, Jason. Appreciate being here.
There's a lot of interest, a lot of excitement around artificial intelligence. We know that, and the cloud is obviously making it easier, making it the access to these tools is right there. So let's start maybe with that discussion. As we've seen more and more large language models pop up, intelligent agents out there, what are some of those challenges agencies are having, some of your customers are having in terms of adopting and using these tools to improve mission, to be more effective and efficient, and all the key buzzwords we're hearing these days?
I'll start by saying I think the introduction of generative AI has just ushered in so much excitement from our customers. And this goes across both commercial and public sector. We are seeing adoption of these new tools. I almost would say unprecedented fashion. It's now becoming real. You see and interact with AI, generative AI, probably every day, from right on our Google landing page with the AI overviews, to interactions with day-to-day websites that you might be experiencing. That is true for public sector as well. And so what I'm excited about is it has historically been challenging for customers to integrate new technology into their environment, because typically over time, most customers we talk to have lots of different systems, legacy technology that might be fragmented a bit. Integration of those technologies historically has been challenging, but with these new generative AI tools, we're actually seeing those barriers reduced. And the idea of intelligent AI agents, you'll hear the buzzword agentic AI. When I talk to customers a lot of times, I first start by clarifying what we mean when we talk about agentic AI or AI agents. A few years ago, when foundation models just came out, you really were interacting mostly with the chatbot, and it would be one prompt in, one prompt back. Tell me an answer to a question, and the generative AI model would answer. But with AI agents, the models are getting much smarter. Our Gemini 2.5 model, that's our most capable model, was released just a couple months ago, for example, now has this advanced thinking and reasoning capability that allows the AI model to take multiple steps and not just answer one single question, but really interact with different tools, data sources, for example, websites, for example, and that enables the AI to complete more complex tasks on your behalf with your control, obviously, as the human, but that really enables much more capability to any application of your AI. So as an example, within Google, you can go to Gemini, which is our foundation model, and we have a website there. There is an AI agent called Deep Research. Let's say that I am in the defense industrial base and I'm trying to research how I want to optimize my supply chain, maybe take use of digital twins, complex subject. I can actually go into the Deep Research agent and ask Google's Deep Research agent to now go research the topic for me. It will go out, come back with a research plan that's multiple steps. Then it will go out and start canvassing different websites and information that it has access to, grounded on Google search results, and report back to me with a several-page research paper that's full of citations, so I can double-click and find out where the sources are. That is a dramatic way to save time and really help introduce, if you think about the capability of introducing AI agents into existing technology solutions, you can start augmenting existing solutions very easily by adding these kinds of AI agents that are real time savers and real efficiency boosts. And that's one of the things that our customers are really excited about right now.
I love the fact that agentic AI is now the latest buzzword. It was genAI for a couple of years, and then it was just regular AI. So we're seeing the continued move. I want to go back to one thing you said, though. You said over the years that one of the big barriers to adopting new technology was the fragmented nature of agencies, whether it's infrastructure or other technology. You said those barriers maybe are coming down. Why do you see that? What about the barriers are coming down? Is it just the open architecture, open source, things fit together like Legos a little better, or is it what?
Yeah, I think the AI-enabled tools are allowing the bridging of different technology solutions. And I'll give you an example. Within Google, we've introduced a new product called Agent Space. Agent Space, you can think of it as sort of our launch point for agentic AI. One of the things that our product allows our customers to do is to connect different data silos within their organization. This is groundbreaking. So with connectors, coupled with the power of AI agents, you can now have AI agents interact with different systems. As an example, let's say I am an HHS employee and I'm for a state government, and I'm working on a Medicaid application for one of the constituents, one of the applicants. I can go into my user interface, Agent Space. I can, search up what tasks do you have to work for me. It can then, using connectors, search those underlying systems, the case management system. Let's say I'm using Salesforce. There's a connector for that. Return back, here are the applications waiting to be processed. I can then actually get a summary of that right within the same UI. I haven't left this one UI yet. And then I can actually start asking the AI for help. Let's say I am dealing with a child with diabetes. Is a continuous glucose monitor covered by the coverage? I can ask the AI that question. I can get a response grounded in results. Maybe that's actually in one of the policies that's stored on my SharePoint site. The AI will be smart enough to know to search across my data sources, pull that back into the same UI. So I'm still working in that same application, but accessing data from these different sources to make my job easier and to make me more effective in the process. And I can even interact and schedule tasks. Let's say I want to then send an email out. I can actually shoot the email out right from that one launch place, and by just simply typing in a prompt that says, send an email to this applicant with the information that I just found to help them understand what the next steps are. It's really, really game changing when you couple the power of these intelligent AI agents with access to data and systems that are across your agency. Really game changing.
And previously, what would happen is, your system wouldn't necessarily work nicely with Salesforce, and somebody would have to come in and either write some middleware, or you all would have to in some way, and it was always very clunky. And it was like, well, it kind of works, but it doesn't, or maybe it works sometimes. That's the old way, right?
Yes.
That's why this is these connectors to the word you used, or that these abilities to use APIs are so much, have really been breaking down those barriers.
I love that you mentioned APIs, because this is actually, I've been in technology a long time, and when microservices and API-based architecture first came out, it was groundbreaking. You could interact with different systems by creating code that would allow that interface between the underlying system and the new one. AI agents take this to the next level, and I believe you're going to start to see AI agents embedded in applications. And really, the next version of microservices. How are AI agents different? You don't actually have to code in a programming language. You can actually use a natural language prompt to tell the AI agent, here's what I want to go look up. That AI agent then has the understanding, the advanced reasoning to interpret those prompts and access the tools like the underlying data that's available via connectors to return back to you. So you no longer have to actually be hard coding these API interfaces. You can actually start building them in really a more human, easily readable format with just regular English language.
We've been talking about for years the democratization of data. People love, again, another buzzword from the mid-2000s, early 2010s, when we started really look at data. This takes that idea of the democratization of data, the citizen coder, all these things we've been talking about really to the next level because, again, to your point, you tell the AI agent, hey, I need to figure out this, whatever this is, and can kind of take care of it and write the API, create the connector, so grabs the data and brings it back to you. That's really driving lower costs, more, you mentioned efficiency and effectiveness, of course. Why are these agents helping to really make things, if you will, simplify and make things more accessible for the average user, the average, and you don't have to be a techie to get to it.
Here's a great example. We've worked with a number of customers, including the state of New Hampshire, and I love this example. A lot of our agencies have benefits administration, whether it's unemployment insurance or Medicaid. Benefits administration is a common problem that we see with a number of agencies. What about the idea of taking an AI agent and flipping the scenario for how an applicant even applies for this type of benefit? Instead of having a complex form that's presented to the applicant, you can actually create an AI agent that starts by asking questions. Tell me about your situation. What brought you here today? How did you lose your job? What were the details? And the AI agent is smart enough to understand from the response, the initial response from a constituent, to then figure out what is the next question I should ask. Then they get more information. What's the next question I should ask? All the while behind the scenes, building that form and completing that complex form that used to just be presented straight to the constituent or the applicant. And it can be overwhelming. If you've got, sometimes you'll see a 10-page form and there's lots of terms in there that only, the professionals really maybe understand at first glance.
And the lawyers.
Lawyers.
Let's blame the lawyers.
And let's talk about language. AI is allowing constituents to interact in the language of their choice now. For example, with our Gemini solutions, if, in this situation, if you answer the question in Spanish, the AI is smart enough to then finish the conversation in Spanish, all the while recording in the English language that this, perhaps agency is looking for. So that is just one example, Jason, of how, if you think about how AI agents can just transform the constituent experience, making it easier for them to engage with government, and on the back end, making the employees that much more effective at doing their jobs and delivering the services in an efficient way that's cost effective for, it's sort of a win-win for everyone, I guess.
Elizabeth, two things stand out to me in that example, and I really do like the example of New Hampshire and the ability to kind of turn it around to make it easier to fill out the forms versus, again, a 10-page form full of language that nobody really understands but the lawyers. But you also have the other idea of how to train the model, and then you have the security of the data.
Yeah.
And both things matter because if the model doesn't work well, if there's hallucinations, and we hear something that's a common concern around AI, or if it ends up too smart, right? It's trying to do too much, and then it creates more work for either the worker in New Hampshire or the person who's applying. How are you all kind of also addressing those challenges between security of the data but also training the model?
It's a great question. I could probably spend
the rest of our time together.
The rest of our time. But I will tell you, Jason, that is really important to us at Google. From the beginning, we have actually been developing AI solutions using our responsible AI practices. We've built a secure AI framework that really helps to guide us in how we're both building and training our own models, but how we as professionals are interacting with customers and helping them to build systems as well. I should have mentioned in the New Hampshire scenario that there's always a human in the loop. That form that gets completed, the applicant is going to have a chance to review it, edit, update before it gets submitted. The adjudicator on the other side is going to have a lot of help from the AI agent to, process the information and help make a decision, but they are the ones still in control of the scenario. And that's something we call human in the loop. Very common technique to make sure that, the AI one of the responsible AI practices to make sure that the AI is under the human, control and making the right, humans are still making the decisions.
I think it's always a good reminder that folks, hey, this is not a technology that's just hanging out and doing all the decision making. There's still a fear, right? Of well, what's it really doing? What's really happening back there? Is there a way to create that transparency and that trust? Because as we know, in the end, no matter how great the tech is, and this doesn't matter if it's AI or the first cell phone or the first computer, if you don't trust it, if you don't think it's going to do the right job, then you're not going to use it. You're going to. I'm going to hit zero a lot to get that operator.
This is a great point, Jason. I'm glad you came back to this. And there's a couple of examples here. In the beginning of generative AI, you heard a lot about hallucinations. What are hallucinations? It is generative AI. It's generating, answers and responses. But one of the ways that industry has really ensured that there's not a challenge with hallucinations is by grounding your results in your enterprise data. So with our system, Vertex AI Search and or Agent Space, you can actually choose to ground the results in your enterprise data. You point it to your data source or sources, as we talked about. There's a lot of potential there. Or perhaps you ground it on a database results, or you ground it on Google search results, but you're grounding it on some set of data, and then the AI is really only looking and answering based on the data it finds. And if it doesn't find it in there, it will actually tell you that the information isn't in this data source. In terms of ensuring trust, one of the responsible AI practices that we've leveraged is let's make sure that we are guiding the user on exactly how it's making decisions, and that can be, you can see that in citations. Whenever Google responds with a generative AI answer, you'll have the ability to see citations or links directly back to where the generative AI found that information. And so that's one example. The latest models as well will actually explain the thinking. We've added that to our Gemini 2.5 advanced reasoning model. So you can actually get a drop down and see exactly the steps that the AI is taking and how the logic it's using to kind of make the decisions, come up with the results. So there's more and more work that we're doing to make sure that AI is, trusted, that more is explained, and that customers are feeling comfortable. That's really important to us, and something that we've championed really all the way from, I think, 2017 is when we announced our responsible AI principles. We were pretty groundbreaking back then in kind of putting that out there, and we maintain that, and to this day. It's very important to us. From a security perspective as well, I'll touch on that briefly. The way that our customers interact with our models, their data is their data. We don't use it for training. Our customers run their applications in their own virtual private cloud or their own, environment. They're going to use, our model to make decisions and inference, but we're not using their training, their data to go and train models. And so customers really like that. In addition, we've done a lot of work to make sure that we are meeting the federal compliance standards. So we announced just a few weeks ago now that we've got Gemini in Workspace, Vertex AI Search with the ability to serve Gemini. It's all now at FedRAMP High, which is pretty exciting that we've been able to, meet that objective. And that really gives our customers, I think, even more confidence in the security of the platform.
The one thing I want to maybe pop back to is this idea of within the security world is ensuring that the data doesn't leak, that you don't have a problem where it's reaching, maybe explain a little bit more that it's grounded on the data that you have. Mm-hmm. So you're pointing the AI to these three databases, and it's not leaving those three databases. Right. Explain maybe that a little more, because I think it's maybe a new term for me, grounded on the data.
Grounded on the data.
And you explained it well, but I just want to maybe put a finer point on it, because I think that's where people get worried about, well, is it bringing in something that I've never seen before? And do I need to go back out and then search and then figure out, okay, is that the right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, when you get results, you will have the links, the citations. So it's very easy to see exactly what data is, where the AI is getting the response from, because you can see those links. But let me go back to this idea of grounding. There's a term that I'll introduce, RAG. You've probably heard that before, retrieval augmented generation. You can ask a generative AI model a question that is not grounded in your data. It will just go into its corpus of information, its training. It will, answer you. Their generative AI models are trained on very large amounts of data. They have a wide range of knowledge and can answer a lot of questions. When you choose to use something like retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, you're basically taking a specific data set that's, I call it your enterprise data, because a lot of our customers want to ground their data or their search results in their enterprise data. You're going to point, let's talk about Vertex AI search. Point Vertex AI search at your enterprise data. And then what happens is our product will then index that data, and it will create these embeddings, which is basically a numerical conversion of the data all in a way that's storable in a vector database. So now we're going into very techno terms, but you asked for questions, so this is how it really works. So then you've got links. Basically, the indexed data results are stored in this database in a format that's easy to relate them back to each other. And when the AI question is asked, the AI model or Vertex search is actually going to go against that source of information only to find that information and return the results to you. And if it can't find the information there, we'll actually say, I'm sorry, but I don't have any information in my data source. Now, that helps to make sure that your data is, when I say grounded in your enterprise data, it's really looking at just the information that you've provided to the AI model for that search. The next question is, how's your data, right? A lot of our customers then look at, well, not all of my data is up to date and accurate. And so then there's a question about, how do our customers make sure that they are, working on making sure that their data stores are accurate and governed and with the latest information. And so that's one of the important, I think, fundamentals for being able to leverage these generative AI solutions effectively, is making sure that your underlying data is current and timely and, and up to date.
We've been talking about the data as the new oil, and how important data is for it feels like 20 years now, and it's even more important today than it's ever been before. Elizabeth, in the last minute or two we have together, I want to bring us back around. A lot of agencies have a lot of use cases. I did an interview recently with someone at VA. They have something like 227 use cases, a lot of them in the healthcare world. Mm-hmm. You look at some of the data from the Office of Management and Budget in terms of the AI use case inventory, and then the number of use cases went up to like 1,700 or something across the government. So there's a lot of excitement around AI. Get your data right. You open the door a little bit there. Other pieces of advice that as agencies continue to adopt these platforms, these agentic tools, what would you say to them? Here's 2 or 3 things to consider.
Yeah, the use cases, as you said, are exploding. I'll first start by saying we have seen interest across a spectrum of, application, from making search easier. Department of State just recently added Vertex search to their website to make it easier for constituents to find information they are looking for. The Air Force is using our tools to be able to allow servicemen to get through policy information a lot faster. From internal productivity scenarios where I want to be able to work with my data, understand the various rules and regulations, be able to do my job a lot faster. That healthcare scenario that I mentioned earlier, there's employee productivity use cases. Code conversion is one that we didn't talk about. I mean, I could go on and on about how this technology is going to be able to impact, every aspect essentially of the employee productivity scenario. And then lots of different constituent facing experiences, from the benefits administration to, being able to navigate search results faster, connecting across different, systems a lot better. There's many different ways that we're seeing customers want to interact with this technology. In terms of the advice, I would say, I always like to advise our customers to get started with something, because it is, whether you're a commercial entity or a public sector customer, and I've covered both for a long time, it is very easy to over-focus on defining how something is going to work, your guardrails and governance for how a new technology is going to work. Those are important, but not to the extent that they cause you to delay experimenting with the new technology in a safe way. So we work with a lot of customers to try and identify a simpler use case that allows them to get experience quickly. Once a customer goes into a first scenario, then typically they will start seeing lots of other use cases in application. So whether that's creating a chatbot that can be used by employees, or whether that's creating a new application that can be introduced to serve the constituents better, those are both some good examples. But getting started quickly, I think, is one of the top things that I recommend.
I think that's a piece of great advice. A lot of times there's too much planning and what's it called, paralysis by analysis or something.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, we're out of time for this session of the Cloud Exchange. We could talk a lot longer. I've really very much enjoyed our conversation. But let me thank my guest. Elizabeth Moon is the Managing Director of Customer Engineering for Google Public Sector. Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Jason Miller, and you've been watching Federal News Network. Now let me send you back to the studio for more on the Cloud Exchange.